Hello, everyone.
Wow.
I see we have almost 50 guests today. Um, we're here to do a studio visit with Cruz Ortiz, um, who is an artist who's based in San Antonio, but is actually Zooming with us from Houston. And I think he may talk a little bit about why he's actually in Houston today. Um, but thank you for often joining us. This is one of the first experiments we're doing with having Zoom studio visits for all our students that are involved in the classes. So I just wanted to start off talking a little bit just about a studio visit and what it is. And I mean, essentially, one of the things is, artists traditionally have a space that they set aside to make their work, where they go and quiet and contemplate and are distracted free, and that's something that is sort of a myth and not something that we can really rely on so much anymore. And a lot of this artists that I've invited to participate in the program over the next weeks are say, I would love to do it, but I don't have a studio. And so it's interesting that that Cruz is actually not in his studio for this particular talk, but I just wanted to introduce Cruz briefly. You were he was born in Houston in 1972. You have a BA in printmaking from the University of Texas in San Antonio. You're based in San Antonio, but you work in he works in a variety of mediums, from printmaking to painting, and also sculpture and installation. So part of the studio visit is there's different kinds. Usually you go, and if you don't know the artist's work, you ask them to introduce their work to you. Sometimes it'll be somebody that knows the work very well, and it'll be about a particular body of work. But we're going to ask Cruz to just start off by introducing his work to us.
Well, awesome, y'all. Thank you, Ms. Stephanie, and of course, Mr. John Connolly, the famous John. I'm really excited to be with all of y'all over there in Santa Barbara. It's actually really kind of cool that that I'm actually here in Houston in a hotel room doing a meeting with our gallerist here. So it's kind of nice to see that, yeah, I'm not in the studio. And honestly, the more I think about what the studio means, it's become very, I guess, in a challenging manner, not to get caught up with that. Honestly, the real studio today is right here. La 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 la. Your phone. And it's actually really neat to see that happen. I think I come from the age where we didn't even have the flip phone; we had the beeper. So it's kind of nice to see that the new studio is now all digital. And in fact, really all the research you can do as far as looking what other artists are doing, seeing what they're doing in their studios or their anti-studios, or what their interests are, is just so helpful in the growth of what you want to do as an artist. One of the main things that you're going to find out and is definitely understanding what it means to articulate your voice, right? And that's the whole point of making work, is how can I articulate what I want to convey and get out there to the world. And so with that, you don't need that. You don't need the cool little studio with the big windows and you're barefooted, painting with blue paint or something. You just need to, be out in the world, experience things, travel, well, kind of, but just be out there and, experimenting with materials and just try to engage all those things you can right now. Your voice is already there. The content of your work, you have it. It's just a matter of like producing work that would actually convey that, materialize that content. So it gets really interesting and crazy. So I love it. The stage that you're at is like super badass, and I'm super excited about all of y'all, jumping into the crazy world of art making. So
Well, Chris, a lot of these students may not know if they want to be artists yet. So how do you think that taking art classes can benefit students that aren't potentially non-art majors?
Oh, well, I'll tell you this. I taught high school art for 15 years. I probably know out of all the students that I taught, probably 3 are artists. The rest are like, in the medical field, engineers, are lawyers, they're doing everything. And what I can tell you is that what taking art classes does is what you understand your creative potential. And so with that, that's a valuable asset. The fact that, let's say if you're applying, I always tell this to my students, if you're applying for a job and it's a biology job or something, right? And then you have these 2 applicants. Well, this one took all the cool biology classes, but this one also took art classes, took art history. Well, I bet, I can pretty much guarantee they're going to pick the person who's got a broad range of what the response of humanity has been, right? And that's what you want. You want to, you know, super intake all the potential of what it means to be humans on Earth. And I think, that's one of the beauties of, taking these art classes is just so important to continue with any direction you're going. You're going to find out that the understanding that you developed in these classes are going to help with any subject matter that you follow through. Now, if you're going to be an artist, you should already know at this point that the only thing that matters is work. You just need to work. Just go through and just create work. Don't think, just make. So that's a whole nother semester of craziness, but yeah, it's pretty cool.
And so how did you start out, Cruz? I don't know if you have, I made you a co-host so you can share a screen with us, and maybe you want to show some of your work and talk about it. But how did you start out, and did you know you wanted to be a painter? Did you know you wanted to do printmaking? Why did you decide to major in printmaking?
I didn't want to do printmaking. I knew from a very early age that I wanted to be an artist. I remember drawing on my parents' walls with crayon. I drew these huge dinosaurs on the wall, and I tell this to everyone, but I still think about like bleach water. When I smell bleach, I think of my childhood because my mom was like, "Hey, cabron, you better go clean the walls." And so there I am with bleach water, scrubbing all the walls that I had just drawn on. So I'd have always been, had a profound interest in making work, and it's always been part of what I, who I am. Now, when I took it serious, was, I was in high school. I was, monkey punk rocker kid and just skateboarding, BMX. That's what hung out in mall parking lots. It was just pathetic and great at the same time. And that's when I all my friends were in bands, and I couldn't even play 1 chord or 2 chords to make a punk rock band, right? Because you don't even need that much to do in a punk rock band, but I couldn't even do that. So I ended up doing flyers and T-shirts for the bands, and that's when I knew. I was like, you know what? I just want to make cool stuff. Like that's how I started. I just want to make some cool stuff. I don't want, fuck content. I was just like, whatever. I just want to make cool things, and that's how I went. I just totally jumped in. I learned screen printing, from some crappy, Catholic nun books that I found, and I was like, oh wow, that's cool. I'm gonna make this, and then we just started, going to the thrift store, buying T-shirts and making stupid T-shirt designs, and then of course, I found out other artworks, and I was like, oh okay, cool. I guess I could probably go into art. And at first I was really just interested in design. I was really, it's always been the foundation of my work. It's just understanding art through design. And so that, for a while, that got kind of confusing, but then I figured it out later on. So it was pretty cool. Yeah, no, I've always been interested in painting. I think that was the thing that for me became so easy. Printmaking, there's a lot of thought. I mean, the whole thing is process. Um, but for the most part, painting was more a direct action that I really enjoyed. So now I do both. So
And you actually have a whole company called Burnt Nepal that's devoted to printmaking and design and making things like t-shirts, and also a whole political side to what you do. Can you talk about a little bit about how that came about, how that developed, and the difference between that and your sort of fine art practice?
right. Yeah, I think early on, I always had a problem with the fine art part. Just that there was, I could see that there was problems, with how art was being presented. Even museums, like the museums just don't sit right with me. They never have, and and I think that's why printmaking made so much sense to me. Is that my studio or my gallery were telephone poles, or we paste electric boxes. Those are the things that I responded to more because I knew that people were seeing the work, and it wasn't being trying to get in front of the right curator or the right gallerist, and none of that was my concern. It was just like I just needed people to see my work. So that was really huge, and I think it was sort of that love of multiples, of looking at Joseph Boy's work and the beauty of like how multiples really, in a most amazing way, um, bring art, more art to people on a more understandable level. And so it didn't get too academic. It was more of an emotional connection, a human connection. So so because of that, I still wanted to do art as the big thing, the museum grade art. And so I was kind of just doing both, and then after a while, it was just okay, I'm getting, people wanting me to do design for a company. And of course, the immediate, feelings were like, oh my God, I can't do that because I would be a sellout and I'm not cool anymore. And I was like, well, there are no rules in art. And that's the thing I keep telling myself even today. There are no rules. You can do whatever the hell you want. And even more so with the digital age and the more access that you have to information and productivity, there are no rules anymore. And so with that, I was interested in printmaking. And so I started doing prints and posters for friends, again, like punk rock bands, and then started doing companies here and there. And then that's when I met my wife, Olivia, who had some amazing background in business. And so we kind of put our heads together. Like she's like, I think we could do a lot more than just what you're doing. And so we actually split it up, where she helped facilitate a lot of the design work. At the same time, I was becoming even more productive in the studio, with the museum type of work, the work that went beyond just what design means. So at the same, it's kind of like just doing two things at the same time, and I think it's been really amazing. In fact, if y'all want, y'all can go. Let me see if I can share the screen, desktop, blah blah blah. Let me see. How do I do this? Am I doing this right?
Yeah, I can see your webpage.
All right, cool. So that's a website, cruzortiz.net. And, this first page has all this stuff. So we'll go to that. But if you go to Burnt Nepal Special Projects, it leads you to a whole nother website. And what this is really, now what we've done over the years, Olivia has really like come through as far as like honing in what is important, and how do we make quality work, not just quantity, not just like cranking out stuff. And so we went through so many different stages as far as like what was possible. And so now what we've been doing is not only just design work for corporations, and of course, that's we have a really like strict guideline as far as who we work with. And so we've been able to like work with different designers to come up with different projects. If you go to the portfolio part on the website, we worked with Julian Castro when he ran for president. And so we've done, book covers for different, educational books. The big one was when we did a collaboration with Absolute Vodka to do design for the entire state of Texas. This is a restaurant, but in the World Heritage Festival, talking about the missions. One of the World Heritage sites in the United States is in San Antonio, so we helped with that. Define what that meant through design. So those kind of things those things are, I think in a way brings contemporary art more to the people than a museum. And I think that was really interesting because I'm not a graphic designer. And I know, and it's interesting because companies come to us wanting that exact same thing. They don't come to me because I'm a graphic designer. They come to me because I'm a contemporary artist. And when you say that, that means that you have a grip on what really is going on in society. And I think companies are starting to do that. You're starting to see a lot more companies do that. Patagonia, all these different huge brands, are starting to understand that there's a human quality that needs to be, addressed in their branding, marketing of their work. So yeah, Burton Paul has also, and then now what it is Burton Paul is actually not just a graphic design company, but it's actually just the special projects by Cruz Ortiz kind of thing. So in here you have Cruz Ortiz, you have the two other projects, which is a social project called Buddha Brigade, which is a volunteer ride program for voters in Texas, which is pretty fun. It's pretty cool. We literally pick up people to go to the polls. And in Texas, it's pretty tough to even get that done. And in fact, the governor was trying to shut us down, like specifically came after our groups. And also in Burton Paul, you have the store. And we also, kind of provide merch, right? Where we're like, you know what, we don't need to just sell the big paintings, but why not, make things that are affordable for people. So there's like the bandana, the letterpress posters. Let's see, we even did educational stuff for different, during the pandemic, we knew that there was a need for educational posters in the homes. And so, and then just also, just basic awareness stuff for health, making sure that people are nice and healthy. But yeah, the Burton Paul stuff has been really fun, just understanding what that means as far as like going beyond just making art that's on an easel, but going beyond that and making it available to everybody. So pretty cool.
And if you could make that's part of the screen a little bit bigger that has the website, that would be great.
All right, cool. Let me do that.
Well, tell us a little bit about your process though too. Like what I know that the Burton Paul, you probably have assistants that work with you to implement the actual physical product. But what's it like for you just working on a portrait? I know that you have a strong interest in portraiture and painting.
Yeah, like the studio, I'm very fortunate. It's becoming a well-oiled machine, as someone said earlier today. It's there was a point when I was, starting off that it was just me, like I was just making work. And then, especially in printmaking, and we were talking about this earlier, Stephanie, that, printmaking is very communal. You need people in the studio to help you sometimes to pull prints. And that's when I first got my first studio assistant was, someone who could just help me pull prints. And then I noticed that just having another person helping me, just obviously, I mean, it was obvious that production went up. And so as I decided to understand what I was doing as an artist was that, I took it seriously. This is a career. It's like any other career, and I had to take basic business classes. I had to, understand what a bookkeeper meant, trying to get someone to help me with taxes, trying to get someone to help me with, now we have payroll, which, oh my God, like that kind of stuff is that's the real stuff they don't talk to you about in school. And I think those things, when I finally got a grip on that, working with my wife, and which has been an amazing partner, just understanding about, business and how to make things work, I was able to like actually do more work that I wanted to do. So like even in this picture on the website, this is a woman uh, that's a very major political figure in San Antonio in Texas, and I had her sit down for me. But just to get that done, I mean, there was like three other people in the studio photographing. There was someone helping me with the recording. I have someone helping me with the canvases and production of that stuff. And then now we have, archives where we have someone helping cataloging all the work that I make. And all, of course, all that, it just totally makes it easier for me to produce more work. Um, on the website here, you even see this large sculpture that was actually produced here in Houston with a whole team of welders. And, I was working with engineers. I mean, it's a big job. Being an artist is not easy. Like it's a lot of work. And, I have a friend who goes, man, because we both started off making work. He's like, I just always impressed by how you are able to do it all. And I'm like, well, I have a team. You have to have, and that's because I treat this seriously. Like I wanted to be successful as an artist. So, if you want to be successful in everything, you've got to find out, what's the best way of getting that done. And everyone has different skill sets. I am horrible at math, um, or even just some basic. So writing, I'm getting better, but even that takes practice. But I had to get people to help me to get that stuff done. So even time management, I'm like the worst. So I have people helping me with that. Setting the calendar, reading my emails, and making sure that stuff gets done in a timely manner.
Did you ever work for another artist as a studio assistant?
No, I haven't. I mean, that's the thing too in San Antonio. I mean, there's not a lot of artists working. So I was kind of cold, going on my own. And I think as the internet became more available, I was able to like look at artists. The artists that I really looked at a lot who were big influence on me were the YBA artists, the young British artists. I noticed that the works that Tracy Emin was doing, like she opened up her own shop in London and just said, fuck it, I'm gonna make my own gallery. And so I thought that was awesome. Like it was very punk rock, and I was like, in fact, my first show was at a bar called Taco Land. Like that's no joke. Like that was my first art show. I was like, what's stopping me? I can make a show anywhere. And so I brought these huge canvases into the bar. I made screen printed posters for the show and I put them up all over the cool areas and coffee shops. And, there was a ton of people. Did I sell anything? Nope. But it was cool. I showed my art and it was cool. To do that kind of like engaging work. So here on that website, you see all the different, this is kind of like a lookbook. So now I'm able to like just get lots of things. Now I do a lot. I'm very hands-on with all my work. But a lot of times I'll get people to help me fabricate. So here I'm welding, but that's actually at my fabricator's shop in San Antonio where I'll just go in and I'll just say, hey, I just need to cut this out. I need you to weld it together. He's like, all right, cool. So it's just a matter of like, getting people to help you get stuff done. I do a lot of political work. So I'm always working with nonprofit groups and social justice groups. So that's another thing about a lot of my work is very collaborative in a sense. Like, and I think that's always been a major component of my work is that, is collaboration so important. And I think that's what's always attracted to me to printmaking, to working in communities. And I think that's why it's pretty successful as far as I'm able to work in a studio with different people. Like I'll be painting in the studio in my painting studio. This is the painting area, and there'll be like 5 people walking in and out, and I have to learn to ignore them and just like put my big boy pants and say, you know what, it's okay. They're right there, and I'm gonna paint. And I gotta learn to focus, and so those things are very important. I also do lots of plein air painting, where I actually go to all the state parks in Texas and Southwest and just set up outside if I need to get outside. So I don't even need a studio. Like I have a backpack with all my paints in it, and I just go out and paint outside. That's actually right there, the backpack with my little box and brushes, and I just get out there and paint. This is me and Olivia. We have chickens, by the way. We're proud chicken farmers. Well, I don't know if we're farmers, but we have chickens. So they're pretty cool. They
Is
shit
there
everywhere.
is there a history of plein air painting that you um, were interested in, or how did you get started doing that?
I think for me, I was looking at different artists like that have always been interested. And the one who really stood out for me was David Hockney. David Hockney wrote this pretty incredible paper on how he questioned photography. And I always thought it was interesting to understand, especially in the digital age, that now we don't believe everything now, right? Like if we see something on Instagram or TikTok, like, is that real? Did that really happen? And so David Hockney kind of talks about that, where he's looking at photography and it's like, well, it's a little different. And one of the things in Texas that we have the Alamo, which I'm sure everyone's heard about. But when you go there, you're like, holy shit, it's little. Like, no joke, guys. It's probably 40 feet wide. That's the Alamo. But the story's huge. Like, it's a big, like the battle, David Crockett, and it's socially big, but in actuality, it's very little. And I noticed that about even like the Mona Lisa, or if you see someone Degas' work or Dali's work, and I was like, wow, it's little. Like, and so like you start to understand, like, what do we understand as far as what we see is what is real and what is not. And so for me, uh, going outside and seeing someone or seeing something right in front of me, I'm literally rejecting photography. I'm the camera. I'm producing the image, and I think with that it becomes a little. There's something more, a soulful point to that. So this is still life. The plant's in the corner, and this is the plant. Like I saw it, I painted it, and so it marks a specific time in the universe. It also documents the artist's eye, what I was seeing. It also documents the decisions that I made as a painter. So yeah, it becomes pretty intense when you think about what it means to have your subject matter right in front of you. This is a plein air painting at the Big Bend National Park, which is in West Texas. It's another one on the San Antonio River. When I painted this, it was no joke, guys, 112 outside. I was melting my ass off. Like the paints were melting. It was so bad.
Do you have a picture of that of you painting the mission? And was it in San Antonio?
Yeah, there's a couple of those. I'm like I guess we don't have that here. But yeah, y'all can all follow me on Instagram, Cruz Ortiz Art. We should do a raffle. Who wants to do a raffle? I'm just kidding. That'd be crazy. That's too weird. Anyway, uh, get all the followers, and you can like tag your best friend, and you'll get a monkey in the mail. Just kidding. You won't. Anyway, yeah. So these are actually this picture right here. These are 2 paintings of people. This is Olivia, my wife, and this is Dr. Clark, and both of those were painted live. Like they were right in front of me. But I also do installations, which is here. Uh, really interested in how space and, of course, how materials interact with people in the spaces. This is a large scale mural in Austin. And this is my little painting. I have a painting studio, but then also in my house, which there's no excuse. Like you can make art anywhere. And thank God my wife lets me do this. But the kitchen that's the kitchen. Like, and so I have the easel in the kitchen. So I'm always working. Like if I'm not painting in the studio at home, I'm also painting in the morning or at night. So it's just, I'm constantly working, constantly.
It's and how do you bring the community in? You've talked about the political aspect, but who do you just decide that you want to paint, for instance, besides your wife?
Well, and we can look at that right now. This is the in vivo portraits. This is kind of like all the people I've been painting. And what I've been doing is kind of looking at, people who get neglected in art history. One of the things that's really phenomenal about painting portraits is that it's got a huge historic canon, right? There's this huge thing, portrait painting. And I wanted to paint, people from my community, people who I thought, were working for the better good of people and humans. So this is an artist, Alejandro Diaz, out of New York City, who was in town. I painted him. This is one of the kids who was living at a home. He was an unaccompanied minor who traveled from El Salvador to the United States and was detained by Border Patrol in Texas, but was living in a home. And so I painted him and his story was amazing, by the way. Just whoa. Like this guy was in the desert for 2 weeks with nothing but his cell phone and a jug of water. And I'm just like, and he was like 15, just by himself. He goes, yeah, I was in there, couldn't find my way. And he finally found, his way around. I was like, actually, one time I asked a group of them, because I've gone over there several times, a handful of times, and I was like, did y'all use the, like in American history, we have, Africans, Americans who would travel using the stars, the North Star. And they all looked at each other. They goes, no, pues we use Google Maps. I was like, what the fuck? It's like, wow, okay, that's embarrassing. But yeah, that was pretty incredible. They have amazing stories. And so I'm actually working on grants and fellowships to do that project more, to document more of their stories. This is more in vivo portraits. It's Lorenzo Gomez, a tech guy. These are the paintings. They're pretty fun. These are the Castro boys. That's Julian Castro and U.S. Congressman Joaquin Castro, who they're twins. I don't know if y'all have heard of them, but they're pretty amazing guys. And Julian, they're just funny because they're twins. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're twins, and they're so different though. This Julian shows up. I like to tell these stories, but Julian shows up with like 2 different shirts to wear. Like he's like, well, I brought 2 shirts, for you to pick. I'm like, dude, I don't care. Just sit down. Like, and Joaquin shows up a little late with a big old soda cup. He goes, hey, what's up, Cruz? Like, he was chill. It was just really interesting to, you get to know people a lot when they're there in front of you and you're painting them. And you're trying to capture, who they are as well. So it's pretty interesting to see, that the different, how you can, what you see and what transpires on the canvas is so different. So yeah, these are all pretty fun. These are all the in vivo portraits, people.
So if anybody has any questions for Cruz, please put it in the chat so I can share it with him.
Oh yeah, let me see. I can't even see those. I'll keep going through these.
Do you have a plan to do like a book project around this?
Yeah, well, dude, that's a whole nother. Y'all should have had a Zoom with Olivia. Jesus, she would have like schooled all of y'all. But no, we yeah, there's definitely plans for different things. we actually are, we just started this subscription program where we're doing print subscriptions, but it's a poster zine. And it's, you know, you can get it, you can apply, it's like 20 bucks a month or something. Uh, and you get it in the mail, you know, bi-monthly. And, you know, those are one thing, there's so many different things you could do as far as like being an artist. And I think, you know, that's one of the fun things we have, you know, with the studio is like coming up with catalogs, zines, merch, you know, just doing studio visits. We used to do art parties, you know, have bands come over to the studio, um, or just, you know, invite food trucks to come over and hang out. So there's, I mean, it's a lot different back then, but now we become a little bit more creative by producing more, I guess, of the availability of doing these Zooms, but then also doing more prints and really focusing on social media. Like social media is so important in the arts. So it's been pretty super cool to see, you know, all that happen. Oh my God, questions. I see them now. Ah, what other art historical styles of art have influenced your own? Jesus. Well, definitely punk rock music. I love music. Um, of course, I love all music, but right now I've been listening to everything from Philip Glass, crazy stuff, to Natalia Lafourcade out of Mexico, who I'm just in love with. I love what she's doing with her. She's doing really, you know, coming from a Mexican pop stuff, but then doing more historical, cultural type of sounds. That's really cool. It's visual artists. I mean, obviously, Alice Neal is a huge influence on my work. I've been really looking at Lee Krasner, her work in the how she handled abstraction, and so and of course, you know, I'm a huge fan of a lot of the uh, African American art that's just been being produced, like Deborah Roberts, of course, just so many different amazing artists out there. They're just cranking out work, and it's just a nice, it's a great time to be an artist to see all the different work that are being produced, and it's just really exciting to see that. Uh, are there seven? Are you representing? I'm just curious if there are any others. Yeah. So Joseph Beuys, of course, has always been like that's just that community political side to him that I've always understand as very being very foundational type of artist that I like. Uh, as far as painters, historical painters, I love Kirchner. Kirchner is one of my favorite painters, and so I really like him. Of course, David. No, 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 no. What am I saying? Oh my God, the pink guy. There was a show. I'm drawing a blank. Anyway, I'll come back to it. But yeah, there's so many different artists that I really look to, and I've been really digging into Rufino Tamayo, Tamayo out of Mexico, who also lived in Paris for a long time. His work is just so tremendous. Like the more I look at it, I'm like understanding it differently. So it's kind of neat to go back. And that's the beauty about art history and being a student is that you never stop looking at art ever. I mean, I'm constantly ordering books now because we can't see museums now. So I'm just always like looking up books. Soutine is one of the ones that I've been looking at as well. And of course, Pierre Bonnard is one of my just ultimate favorites. Like he's in my heart always. So, do you have any internships available? Yes, we do. We actually do we actually have internship calls a lot, and we actually work with people from different areas, like doing digital internships and stuff. So yeah, there's an email studio at Cruz Ortiz Art. You know what? I'll just put it in here. Studio at Cruz Ortiz Art.net.
What would someone do as an intern for you? All different kinds of things, I imagine.
Well, I mean, obviously, we're always looking for different things. I mean, there's always different needs that we could have. I think, you know, cataloging work, you know, marketing skills, design type of work. You know, even I mean, if you were to come down to Texas, we definitely put your work in the shop, doing all kinds of different things. And honestly, it's actually, if you're wherever you're at, if you're in California, find an artist and just work for free. It's the best. Like, depending on if there's an artist that's even offering internships, I can guarantee you they're gonna teach you something. Because I do that. I mean, every intern that I get, I make time for them. Like I literally, Sarah, who's been doing our archives, we had lunch and we were just talking, and she was just, okay, so I see how you work on here, but what about this? And so I think it's so helpful to do that. And artists who already have a practice down, they're wanting to share this information. Obviously, I'm doing this, so it's very important to do that. So.
Yeah, that's why I asked if you had worked for anybody in particular, because it is such an important training arena for young artists to learn a skill. And then also, I always encourage people that are starting out in any field to find a mentor.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's so important. Like even Olivia, like she's got like an army of mentors, like all these Latina business leaders, and they meet together, and I'm like, oh my God, that's like the meeting of the minds. And I'm like always intimidated to even walk over there. But just getting mentors are so important. And it doesn't have to be art. Oh my God, not at all. I mean, I have mentors that are just business mentors. I have a lot of my good friends are lawyers, and I like to like just pick their brains. Science majors, I love, those are the people I always hung out with. English lit and science majors were always my best friends. And I think for them, it was neat just to work under those people or work alongside with those people. Volunteering also is such a great experience. It gives you a grip on the humanity of what your work means. And trust me, if you're an artist, you're working within the humanity of what that, of what the world means to us. And it's so important. And I think volunteering, especially now during the pandemic, I mean, everyone should be doing something for the better of everybody. And I think you're going to learn so much from that. And not only that, it's great networking. I mean, that's the one thing I tell people all the time. It's like, before the pandemic, I was like, go to all the parties. That's networking. That's business. Inviting people out to go see art, public art, to get their feedback. What are they going to say? No. Okay, move on. Just keep working to network and see how that pushes your work in different arenas. Do you have any favorite punk rock artists? Yes, I do. Minor Threats, of course. Ian McKay. I come from the Discord Records group. Those are my favorites. And of course, a lot of the Texas punk rock bands, the Hickoids and all of them. And of course, I'm a huge Smiths fan, which Morrissey's such a weirdo, but I still love the Smiths. So I've always been a part of that group. So what's your favorite medium to use? Right now, oil paint. I love oil painting. I've been looking at formulas. And you'll see, like if you dig into art history more, every artist used different combination of mediums. There's a photo of Frida Kahlo's museum or her studio, and I noticed, I was like, why does she have all these bottles of liquids and stuff? And it's because she would experiment. Everyone experiments, like walnut oil, safflower oil. And then there's an entire book on William de Kooning's chemical makeups. And some of his paintings are falling apart because all he would use is safflower oil from the grocery store. And it was because it had a buttery feel to it. And when you understand medium, you understand how his artwork, how it got there. It's like, oh, interesting. How medium literally, produces that language, that visual language, without us even understanding that, I guess. Maybe I messed it, but were you in Texas? Yes, I am in Houston, Texas right now. What is it? How did you develop your style in painting and art? I worked every day. Every day I paint. Every day I draw, I paint, I'm making something. If not, I'm writing. If not, I'm reading. I'm constantly every day making work. I usually have 2 to 3 paintings going at the same time. So I'm always jumping across, like I have painting in the studio, painting in the house, and then I do plein air paintings outside. I'm constantly drawing. It's just nonstop. Don't ever stop. Just keep making work. You'll figure it out. Even if you don't know what you're doing, just make marks on the paper and then just waste tons of paper. Just blow it off. Paper's cheap. Come on. Do you have a graphic designer on your team, or do you own your graphic design? We do. We hire graphic designers. How it works with them is we work with them. So let's say we get a client, they want a certain look. I will do some drawings, and the graphic designer will compose those things in different digital formats, and then we produce that for the client. So it gets pretty technical on that side, but we're able to work with different. We definitely do subcontracting with different graphic designers all the time. I do lots of my own graphic design, of course, but then I get pulled away from the studio, and I'm like, can we just hire someone to do that? So we usually do. Olivia has her favorite, people that we work with. So we're always, trying to work around as a team to get stuff done for clients. Can you please talk about the portrait up on the screen now? Ha ha ha, yes. Oh, not that one. Jesus, what happened? Oh my God, what's going on? Oh, that one. So that's Jennifer Falcon. Jennifer Falcon is a Native American Sioux tribe. She was from the area where Standing Rock was, and she lives in San Antonio in Texas. She works with a lot of social justice organizations around Native Americans. And so I invited her to come paint her portrait, and she did the red palm mark, which was an incredible symbol honoring and bringing awareness to the violence against women, Native women on tribal lands that are happening, because a lot of them apparently are also the oil, the people who are working with oil production on native lands it's all men. And so there's like mobile homes of all these men with nothing to do. And of course, there's lots of crimes being committed on that level. So she's doing a lot of work trying to bring awareness. But that's her portrait right there. She's such an amazing person. Like, she's definitely one of our, close friends that we are always working on different projects, to bring down the man and change the world. So yeah, we're definitely, working with her. We're actually, I think, about to do some more work with her on protecting rivers throughout the nation. So it's gonna be crazy. Let's see, what else do we have? Do you have pictures on the website or anywhere else where you enjoy early punk rock posters, works? I don't. Jeez, you know what? I wonder, how do I find that? No, we're actually right now, that's what they're doing in the studio right now. It's just trying to catalog all my old stuff. And yeah, I think eventually we're going to be putting out a book with all that, like a catalog of all the punk rock posters and the letterpress posters that I've done, for different bands and stuff. That should be fun. That should be really cool. One new message. All right. Do you ever experience artist block? Yes. If so, what do you do? I work. There's lots of times when I get stuck. And so I usually change things up. I even got a basketball hoop put on the parking lot of the studios. Like, maybe this will help. And it does. Like, I just, change things. If you saw that there was a kayak, I go kayaking. I just try to do different things. Traveling was always a big thing. Like, if you're stuck, get influenced. Allow yourself to be influenced. Food. I love food. I love, going to restaurants or trying different foods. I think anything that can inspire you. Look at the news, follow stuff, do things that you wouldn't normally do. Like the immigrant kids that I painted, you know, I had to hunt them down. Like I had to find a place where they were living, and you know, I did the research. You know, so do lots of research. Read. If you get stuck, just read. Look up other artists on how they did stuff. I actually read. Uh, I read artist biographies too. Matisse has got a great one out there. Oh my God, that guy Matisse. He was Andy Warhol looks like a joke next to Matisse as far as the factory idea, and even Rembrandt had a factory. I mean, all those guys and folks, you know, they had full on galleries. They had reps. They had, you know, assistants constantly working. Matisse had a building, you know, 4 stories where one story was just for the morning session and the second story was for the evening session, and he would have, you know, 4 different uh models set up and with 4 canvases, and so he would just wake up, hit the canvas, knock it out, move on, and then meanwhile go get lunch. The studio assistants would take those paintings down, catalog them, and then you come back from lunch, go to the 3rd floor, and the models moved upstairs, and then he would knock those out. And then I'm like, what the hell? Lucien Freud had 2 studios constantly working as well. He had a night studio and a day studio. Like, there's always ways to like get stuff done. There's no excuse ever. Just don't be lazy. Don't be lazy.
So Cruz, there are a couple questions that we've touched upon, but I think are really interesting for, like for me personally, as like somebody who loves art and but knew didn't want to be an artist. But so the questions were like, do you have any work that does not resemble your style? What was the process of exploration like, if so, and how did you develop your style in painting and art? So the, you know, for me, the question is, how do you keep from just copying? Like we talked about all your references and influences. How do you keep from just copying, and how do you develop your own style?
You know, I I don't know. I want to be. You know, and I read something by Matisse that said, uh, "Don't try to be original. Just I'm not doing it verbatim, but he mentioned like, don't try to be original. It's already been done. Everything's been done. Uh, and I think what he meant was, you know, he said just work through things. You know, whatever style will happen. And honestly, style just I don't even like to think about style. Like I don't honestly, guys, I'm telling you the truth. I don't know my style. Like I look at my work, I'm like, does it look like I did? Does it look like one person did all these? And I'll ask Olivia, I'll ask different people in the studio, like, hey, does it look like I did this? Like, yes, dude, yes. Jeez, what's wrong with you? Like, I'm like, really? Because I don't see it. They're like, oh my God, whatever. They just roll their eyes at me. Like when I look at let's see these. Okay, let me minimize this. How can I do this? I'll just move you out of the way. So when I see these, like you know, like when I see this painting, and then I see this painting, and then I see this, like the landscapes. Like I can't. To me, they look different. But I guess there's a style to them. And if I think about style, then I'll get stuck, and I don't want to do that. Like I don't think these two are the same style. Do y'all? Raise your hand if you do. Wow.
I see a couple of hands.
Yeah, I know. They're like, no. There's all. Like even this installation work, like, I mean, like, see, that's a very those are very graphic. You know what I mean? Like, I don't. I mean, obviously, I don't worry about it too much. Like that's a radio tower. That's an AM radio station that I made. Oh, actually, this has a lot of the prints. This has a lot of prints in it. These are large, huge. These are like 12-foot woodcuts Those are really cool. I mean, I guess I see style. I don't know. I think I don't want to think about that. Like if I get stuck in style, then I don't know. It just becomes a whole nother thing to worry about. I think I've always been a direct painter. You know what I mean? Like I'm more about, just hitting the canvas and seeing, what I can do, in the little time that I have. So like, yeah, I guess these are the same. These kind of look the same to me. Yeah, I mean, I can see it. It's kind of funny.
Well, yeah, I imagine as an artist, it's hard because especially if you're a student of art history, like you see how an artist has an early period and sort of a middle period and a late period, and how conscious are the artists of those periods, and you don't want to think about it too much. You just want to make your work, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think when I look right now, that's actually what's happening right now. It's like the cataloging that's happening. A lot of they're showing me all my work. Like this painting right here. This was done probably about 5 years ago, and this one was recent. This is 2020. So like I can tell, like I can see the differences in the development of where the work or how the paint was being handled. This is very flat, right? Very screen printy, where this is very texture, right? There's a lot of texture in this painting, and this is when I'm starting to use a lot of wax in my oil paintings, to where it builds more body and presence and it really accentuates the color as well. And going back to the mediums, I'm really looking at the technicalities of oil painting are just so immense. I mean, God, like oil masters, those people are like, it takes years to develop, a proper oil painter, or I guess art historical type of like Titian stuff. So I think, I'm just getting a grip on it, and it's been really interesting and fun. This is a painting that was on an unstretched canvas. So that's why you see that buckle in it, which I totally love. I'm a real big fan of Julian Schnabel as well. Like I just love the rawness and, what does he call it? Intuition painting. So a lot of these are artworks that are based on Texas historical figures that got washed away. This is Gregorio Cortez, who shot a sheriff in Texas because the sheriff shot his brother without any cause. So he said, I'm going to shoot you. And of course he ran away, and it was one of the biggest manhunts in Texas. The Texas Rangers were, all over the state looking for this guy. This is Emma Tenayuca, who is a communist organizer in San Antonio, Texas. Corky Gonzalez out of Denver, Colorado, who was another civil rights activist. This guy was pretty intense. Juan Cortina, actually, after the Battle of the Alamo, there's a lot of history. You've got to look him up. It's such an amazing story, though. He kicked out all the Anglos in Brownsville, Texas. And like, it was pretty intense. Like, but you never hear these stories, This painting recently was acquired by the National Portrait Gallery in Smithsonian. And it's Tommaso Barafrasso, who is a Chicano scholar, art scholar, very old, still kicking, but just an amazing curator, one of the earliest curators of Latin American art in the United States. So yeah, it's a different, definitely different understanding of what that means.
Well, we're coming up on an hour, so I just wanted to say thank you. I don't want to keep you for too long, but do you have any, we have our, I wanted to mention to all the students that we have our scholarships coming up. The deadline is March 18th, I believe, or 17th. And there's at least 5 or 6 scholarships, anywhere from a couple $100s to a few $1,000s, that I would encourage them all to apply for. And on that note, I'm sure they would love to hear any other encouragement you have for people, for artists that are just starting out.
Yeah, I'm seeing those questions. There's a lot of block. And what inspires you? Yes, I do use cold wax medium. It's so yummy. Anyway, I want to eat it in my mouth. But no, as far as inspiration, guys, like honestly, gals, or I think people need to be able to like, I had a professor, and I always loved what he said. He goes, Cruz, just shoot from the hip, shoot from the hip. And he was one of these old modernists, instructors. Today art instruction is not what it was, but my professors were rowdy. Oh my God, Pritchett. He would drink coffee out of a coffee cup, and we'd all it was like 8:30 class, right? And it's like painting, like, oh my God, this dude, like he's here again, and we're here. And he would get his coffee cup and slam it on the ground. He goes, wake the fuck up. I'm like, oh my God. And he would totally get crazy. And I was like, whoa, like shards of glass. When he goes, oh, did I get your attention? Huh? God, this generation. He would always like pissed at my generation. I'm like, dude, calm down. Like, so, and I think it was kind of neat in a way, like, I've been noticing the younger generation of artists. I don't know what to tell you, but get off your ass and just work. Honestly, that's what it takes. And figure out what inspires you. Art. If it's not art, music. I love music. Everyone loves music. Listen to music. Listen to lyrics. If you're stuck on what to paint, then always paint what you know. Write that down, kiddos. Paint what you know. I'm gonna write that down. Paint what you know. There you go. Paint what you know. Shoot from the hip. One more. We need one more. What's another one? I should have a top 3 advice. Start a band. Fuck it. Start a band. There you go. Or try to start a band. Yeah. Just do something. Have fun. It's the best.
Thank you, Cruz. Thank you. And for the those that are asking about where we can get information from the scholarship about the scholarships, you can email me directly. There's information on the SBCC website, and we actually will have a link on our website as well. And just reach out to any of your professors about tips for applying.
Awesome, y'all. Thank you so much. Y'all are hilarious. y'all are the Zoom generation. Oh my God, y'all. By the way, y'all need to be documenting all of this, because in the future, 100 years from now, people are going to say, what was it like? And you're going to be all old, like, well, back in the day, like, we had Zoom. So, document, write, do lots of sketchbook writing. It's so important for everybody, not just for you, but for your legacy. Create your own legacy, people. Come on. What are you doing? Stop being weird.
Well, that's the other thing, is we were recording this talk. So it will be posted for anyone who wants to see it again or missed it.
You're the robot. Get some roller skates.
Thank you, Cruz.
Thank you, John.
Thank you for everybody for joining us.
All right. Take care, y'all.
Thank you, Cruz.
Thank you,
Thank
Seth.
you. Thanks so much.